people, it's me, Anja. Happy Pride Month. So today's Recent Reads video is going to be great. I started this week off fairly strong, and I would say I ended it not as strong, but I have one of my most highly anticipated reads on my Kindle right now, and I will probably be talking about that in 2 days, so that's exciting. So anyway, the first book on this list is called Sky in the Deep, written by Adrienne Young. That is a YA fantasy standalone. I know that there's a companion book to it, and it's called like The Girl the Sea Gave Back or something, but I'm pretty sure you can read both of them alone, so I'm counting this as a fantasy standalone. Basically, Sky in the Deep follows this girl who's part of this clan that rivals against another clan, and when she sees her brother fight with the other clan, whom she hasn't seen in 5 years, she's faced with her brother's betrayal. So she's captured by her enemy clan, and then she learns to... I'm doing a terrible job explaining the synopsis of this, because I feel like this was a very highly anticipated book 2 years ago, so I feel like a lot of people already know what it's about. So anyway, it's about like royalty and family, and it was a very fast-paced adventure. It had a good little trope of enemies to lovers, which I know everybody loves, and I ended up rating this book 4 stars. I understand why everybody else loves it so much and hyped it up so much. Well, not so much, but I understand why everybody hyped it up, because it is a good book. It's just, I'm glad I read it now and not 2 years ago, you know? So overall, I rated it 4 stars, like I said, and I do recommend it. So the next book I read is called Can You See Me, written by Libby Scott and Westscott. This follows Tally, who's an 11-year-old girl who's starting 6th grade, and she's autistic. I really like this book, and I rated it 4.5 stars, and it's juvenile contemporary, and I really liked it because I'm autistic, if you didn't know, and I love reading about autistic stories and autistic perspectives because it really helps me feel understood. And since autistic people in general are so underrepresented, I just really like reading, you know, a good story. I really like this story. I thought it was really solid. Tally's story and her perspective was just really well done, and the autistic representation was spot on. It was so good, and as an autistic person, I felt represented and I felt understood, and isn't that what you want? I just thought it was just so good, and I would highly recommend it to anybody who is autistic, who's trying to understand autistic people, who is neurotypical and doesn't really know what autistic means. I just really like the story, and I think that more people should read it, and it's just so good. The next book that I read is called Bad Best Friend, written by Vail. This follows, I forgot her name, but she's starting 8th grade, and her best friend has decided that she would rather hang out with the popular kids than her, which is so rude. Like, anyway, that's just so rude. I think this story was really good, and I ended up rating it 3.5 stars. I think that this story is a really important story, because unfortunately many kids like Nikki, I remember her name, many kids like Nikki go through this, and it's just so sad and so rude. Don't ditch your best friends for the more popular kids. If being popular is all that you care about, maybe you shouldn't have friends. Anyway, that's a different rant for a different day. But basically, I really like this story, and I ended up rating it, like I said, 3.5 stars, because it was really solid, and I really emphasized with Nikki's perspective and her story, and I just really liked her character arc. It was really solid, and yeah, it was just really good. So yeah. So if you watched my most highly anticipated 2020 reads video, the first video at least, you would know that Shah and the Tree of Wishes was on that list, and I'm here to tell you that this book disappointed me, and yeah, I really wanted to like it. If you watch that video, you see me being so excited to read it, because the first 2 books were so good, and this book, I don't know what happened. It just kind of fell short. It just wasn't as good as the prequels, I don't really know like how to pinpoint specifically what I didn't like. It just felt like I was reading the same story as the previous 2 books. So, you know, like, don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed the fast-paced plot, the new characters that were introduced, although I will admit 2 out of 3 of the new characters were pretty interchangeable, and I kind of forgot who was who, and yeah. So, I mean, the only thing about the story that really saved it from being a 3.5 rating to a 4-star rating is the cliffhanger plot twist at the end. But I hate to say this, I really do. But I feel like this series is slowly but surely getting worse. Like, I rated the first book in the series 5 stars, the second book in the series 4.5 stars, and then this book 4 stars. So, like, I still want to read the 4th one because I think it's the last one, but I'm not as excited for it as I was for this one. So, that's disappointing. But, you know, they can't all be winners. So, I still recommend this book, but, like, overall, it still, like, disappointed me because I was really hoping that it would be, like, at least 4.5 stars, maybe even 5 stars, but it was only 4 stars, which is still really good. It just wasn't what I wanted it to be, you know? So, the next book that I read is called We Are Not From Here, written by Torres Sanchez. This follows 3 teenagers who travel from Guatemala to Mexico with the U.S. border in sight. So they're all immigrants. And I liked this story. I ended up rating it 3 stars. I think that the immigrant representation is really, really important and necessary because, like, I don't know if I've ever really read a story about immigrants before. I think I probably have. I just don't really remember because maybe the stories just didn't make that much impact on me. I think that I ended up rating this book 3 out of 5 stars, even though I agree that the story itself is very important and realistic. I think I rated it 3.5 stars because I was expecting it to be, like, really devastating and impactful, and it wasn't. So maybe for this book I should have just had lower expectations instead of higher expectations, because, like, I know this, the lower my expectations are, the more I'll be surprised by it. So yeah, I ended up rating this book 3.5 stars, even though, not 3.5 stars, just 3 stars, because I just didn't love it the way that I wanted it to. So yeah, that was that. The next book that I read is called The Boy in the Red Dress, written by Kristin Lambert. This is a YA murder mystery set in 1929, and it's about Millie, who works at her aunt's speakeasy, and one day when a girl is murdered and everybody thinks that her best friend Marion killed her, Millie sets out to clear her best friend's name because she doesn't think that he did it. So there's that. I like the fast-paced plot of this book. I like Millie and Marion's character development. I like their friendship. I found, like, Millie's, like, romantic relationships to be completely unnecessary. This book reminded me a lot of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, written by Holly Jackson, which is a book that everybody loved, and I didn't like it as much as everybody else, which, you know, if you've seen, like, my previous recent reads videos. But anyway, I rated this book 3.5 stars because it was a good, fast-paced murder mystery, and I couldn't rate it any higher because, like I said, I found everything else to be completely unnecessary. So I would recommend this book if you liked, or rather if you loved, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, because it's basically similar except that it's set in 1929. So that's cool. The last book on this list is called Summer at Meadow Wood, written by Amy Rebecca Tan. This is juvenile contemporary, and it follows Vic, who's spending her summer at Meadow Wood, and she doesn't really want to be there. Even though she's spent previous summers there, she doesn't want to be there this summer due to, like, this unspoken reason, which you'll find out if you read the book. I rated this book 3 stars because, like, I don't know, I found it kind of relatable having to stick with something that you don't really want to do, but you have to make the most of it. and like unexpected things happen that you weren't really expecting at the beginning. So that was really solid, but I only ended up rating this book 3 stars because other than that, it didn't really stick out to me that much. Like, you know, it was a pretty like predictable, quick summer read that's clearly tailored for a younger audience. Yes, I knew that before going into it, but sometimes juvenile fiction books surprise me. Like Can You See Me? I ended up enjoying that book much more than I previously thought, but like this book, it wasn't all that. So yeah, there's that. So in conclusion, the best book that I read in this week was Can You See Me, and the worst book that I read was The Boy in the Red Dress. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Comment down below if any of these books seem interesting to you. I hope that these recent reads videos help you find comfort and escapism while in isolation. I know this video is not going to go up until the second week of June, but it's the 20th of May for me, so I'm assuming that we'll still be in isolation by the time that this video uploads. So anyway, do all the things like I just said, and thanks for watching. Subscribe for more. Bye!